welcome to the People Forward Leadership Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Carol Parker Walsh. As an expert in transformational leadership and human development, and the creator of People Forward Leadership, I'm here to help you create thriving, engaged teams and unstoppable leaders. In each episode, we'll explore the strategies and insights that will elevate your leadership impact and drive lasting results. Get ready for a transformative journey filled with actionable steps. Let's go. Hi there, and welcome to the very first episode of the People Forward Leadership Podcast. This podcast has been in the making for over a year, and I'm so thrilled it's finally here. But more importantly, I'm thrilled that you've decided to join me on this new adventure. The conversations we'll have on this podcast, I believe, are more vital than ever, especially in this current fast-paced, technologically driven, and often unpredictable world that we live in. And in this premiere episode, I want to lay the foundation for what this podcast will be about. I want to share the vision behind the podcast, why I believe people in human capital management has never been more critical than today, and how People Forward Leadership as a framework can serve as a guiding philosophy for you and every leader at every level. Now, I know leaders are facing the pressure of constant change. We all are. And it feels like since the pandemic, there's been one thing after another. And just when you think you've caught up or caught your breath, something new emerges on the horizon. Perhaps you've been seeing how AI, automation, and other digital tools are altering how we communicate, collaborate, and innovate. And with so much transformation happening, it is so easy to lose sight of the people side of organizations. But that's precisely why I'm launching this podcast, to provide a space to refocus our attention on the human side of leadership and to provide a platform for sharing strategies, insights, and real-world experiences that I believe will help leaders excel in these uncertain times and well into the future. Now, if you're new to me, I'm a former employment and labor attorney turned executive coach, leadership development, and organizational consultant. I'm a polymath and transformational leadership and human development expert running a coaching, training, and consulting firm. And my team and I have seen firsthand the struggles that leaders are facing with generational changes in the workplace, hybrid work models, managing remote teams spread across different time zones, engagement and retention issues, and leading a workforce that's increasingly demanding purpose, inclusion, and flexibility. When I was a leader, we had to deal with a lot of these issues, but not at the pace and the level that we're seeing leaders deal with today. And leaders are being called to excel in these irreplaceable human skills such as empathy, communication, and emotional intelligence. In fact, companies' expectations around supporting employees' career development, their well-being, and the need to feel valued are rising, but leaders have not been prepared adequately to meet these changing and demanding needs. In fact, according to Deloitte's Global Leadership Forecast, 60% of leaders feel worn out each day, and 32% of leaders are planning to leave their organizations by the end of the year. And on average, which is contributing to these numbers, leaders spend about 2.5 hours dealing with employee drama and emotional waste, which could cost organizations over $1.8 million a year. So it's no wonder that over 59% of CEOs say their greatest challenge is building and retaining winning teams. Why? It's because leaders don't realize that their top job is not to be top performers, but to cultivate their people's talent, expertise, and potential. Now, People Forward Leadership is about centering your leadership philosophy on the human element, even as you embrace new technologies, adapt to emerging trends, and manage in these uncertain times. And it doesn't mean you ignore metrics or delivering results. It's about knowing that when your people thrive, organizational success is inevitable. It's about remembering that organizations are ecosystems of individuals with distinct perspectives, motivations, and needs who deliver on the metrics and drive the results that you're seeking in your organization. And when you lead with people in mind, you create a space where employees can flourish, drive innovation, build relationships, and inspire loyalty. The leaders who understand this and intentionally develop a people-centered culture are able to unlock a powerful form of productivity that technology alone cannot achieve. And they're the ones who will not only survive in these changing times, but thrive in the uncertainty of the future. So you may be thinking, okay, all of this is great, Carol, but why another leadership podcast? Why now? And why this one? Listen, I completely get it. I know there's no shortage of content out there. You can turn on your phone and your iPad or your laptop and instantly get leadership tips, read articles about talent retention, or watch keynote speeches on team building. In fact, I've written several articles and given several of those keynotes on those topics. However, I also know that the very abundance of all of this information can be paralyzing. Leaders are constantly asking me for resources, wondering which they should read first, where they should start, which ideas should they actually try, and how do they take the time to absorb all of this new data and information. Well, that's where this podcast comes in. And like I said, I know your time is precious, and I know we're overstimulated and inundated with information from endless social media feeds, webinars, and yes, even a lot of podcasts. But that's why I'm committed to ensuring that each episode of this show will be laser focused on delivering actionable insights in 20 minutes or less. My goal is that every time you listen, you'll walk away with a tangible step you can put into practice right away, whether you're managing a small team or overseeing an entire organization. The episodes will be concise, enough to fit into your busy schedule, whether you're commuting, taking a small lunch break, or winding down at the end of the day. And in addition to delivering concise, practical content, I'll also be bringing you stories and frameworks from experts that I call catalysts. These are professionals and leaders who value human-centered leadership development. They'll share the challenges they faced, the breakthroughs they've experienced, and the strategies they've implemented to build high-performing teams. And hopefully their stories will spark new ideas, encourage you to think differently, and help you envision a future of leadership in an inspiring and attainable way. Now, so far, you've heard me use the term people-forward leadership and may be wondering, what exactly does that mean? I mean, after all, it is the name of the podcast. It's a term I created grounded in research and backed by proven strategies to describe a way of leadership. But what does people-forward leadership look like in practice, you may wonder? Well, it's one thing to proclaim that you value your people, but it's quite another to put those values in action. And over the course of this podcast, we're going to go deep into these practices, but let me start by giving you a few highlights now. First and foremost, people-forward leadership combines empathy with cutting-edge practices to develop leaders, empower teams, and build cultures that flourish. That's the foundation of people-forward leadership. It sees people as your most vital resource and the catalyst behind organizational success. It looks forward with a commitment to addressing today's challenges while positioning your organization and its people for tomorrow's opportunities. And it centers on leadership by helping leaders develop a holistic practice that begins with self-leadership, extends to uplifting others, and ultimately shapes a resilient, high-performing culture. This framework transforms leadership from a mere role into a powerful force for positive impact within organizations. And through structured development, people-forward leaders master the three pillars of developing self and cultivating self-awareness, developing and guiding others to empower and elevate potential, and creating environments where people can feel fully engaged, contribute, and they can grow. So practically, among other things, that means first, as leaders, developing active listening skills and authentic communication. Now, there's a verse in James 1:19 that says, we should be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to anger. And whether you're a Bible believer or not, this is fundamentally what it means to listen actively. And people-forward leaders ask open-ended questions. They pause to absorb what's being said and mirror back what they've heard to show they understand what's being communicated. They consistently work to solicit input, clarify misunderstandings, and communicate decisions with transparency. And when there's a culture of active listening and authentic communication, there's trust and psychological safety, which are two must-haves for any high-performing team. Second, they hone empathy and compassion. This goes hand in hand with active listening and authentic communication. True empathy involves connecting with your team at a human level, recognizing their emotions while managing your own, and understanding and mitigating their stressors, and celebrating their achievements. A people-forward leader doesn't see empathy as an idea or a theory, but as an essential tool for motivating teams, resolving conflicts, and retaining top talent. Thirdly, they foster empowerment and autonomy. Rather than micromanaging, people-forward leaders empower their teams with the resources, authority, and support to make decisions. They know how to use delegation as a growth opportunity and establish clear expectations while giving their teams the room needed to explore possible solutions. By trusting your team members, a foundation of delegation, you'll cultivate a sense of ownership and accountability that elevates their performance, their problem solving and decision making, and spark continuous improvement. Fourth, you prioritize continuous development and learning. People-forward organizations are fundamentally learning organizations. Their leaders invest in training, mentorship, and ongoing development. It's not just about offering employees a class or a workshop here and there. It's about creating a system where learning is embedded into the daily fabric of work. For instance, pairing up senior and junior team members for knowledge sharing, creating safe-to-fail spaces for experimentation, creating teach backgrounds, and providing constant feedback loops. By emphasizing learning and development, you'll help to retain talent and ensure that your teams are agile enough to adapt to whatever change might come their way. Fifth, setting a strategic vision with a human lens. People-forward leadership isn't about being nice or avoiding conflict. It's about driving organizational success by weaving together a compelling vision that resonates with the people who are going to carry out that vision. People-forward leaders know how to articulate a future that inspires and aligns each person's role and growth opportunities with the larger organizational vision and mission. They measure success not only in terms of numbers and KPIs, but also in their team's well-being, productivity, and engagement. Does this always look easy? Does it not come without conflict or challenges? Absolutely not. But they know not to avoid them. They don't see conflict as a negative thing, but as an opportunity for engagement. They believe in high intellectual friction and lower social friction, which comes when you have an environment where people are feeling that their engagement, that their trust, that their well-being is being valued and prioritized, and that they're aligned with what they're doing with the whole organizational vision and mission. Now, of course, there are tools and resources that can be used to support this work. And throughout this podcast, I'll delve deeper into these components and more. And our guests will also share how they've integrated these principles into their teams and workplaces. And if you're wondering where to start after listening to this inaugural episode, just remember this. People-forward leadership is a practice. It's not a destination. It's a journey of continuous improvement and reflection. Why? Well, because the future of work isn't predetermined. Technology will continue to evolve, and new challenges will undoubtedly arise, whether it's economic upheavals, global crises, or unforeseen disruptions. However, how we respond to these challenges is entirely within our control. And since we're constantly evolving, it's important to know that people-forward leadership is about learning to anticipate and address current challenges while positioning your people for future success in this dynamic world. It empowers leaders to shape these changes in a way that puts their people at the center of decision making. It will challenge you to question old assumptions about hierarchy, accountability, and productivity, and invite you to experiment with new ways of organizing teams, evaluating performance, and developing new and emerging leaders from within. Now, my hope is that by listening to each episode, you'll find at least one idea or technique to implement, test, or refine that will help you champion your greatest assets, your people, even in these uncertain times, as well as lead with authenticity and vision. Because when you lead with people in mind, you create an environment where they feel valued, safe, and motivated to give their absolute best. You improve engagement, you reduce turnover, and nurture a culture where innovation can thrive. I've seen it happen time and time again. In short, you just don't adapt to the future of work, you actually create it. Well, that's it for today's episode. And I hope you're walking away with a lot of ideas, with new perspectives and ways of thinking about not only yourself as a leader, but your teams, your organizations, and the future of work. I want to thank you so much for joining me today and letting me be a part of your leadership journey. I hope you continue on this journey with me. Until next time. Thanks for tuning in to the People Forward Leadership Podcast. If you're ready to implement the insights and strategies shared in today's episode, schedule a call with our team to explore how we can help you drive talent retention, boost engagement, and develop extraordinary people-forward leaders in your organization. Plus, be sure to visit our website to access additional resources that will support your growth goals. Until next time, keep leading your people with purpose and confidence. And remember, when your people thrive, organizational success is inevitable.